Well, the words Tory and lie go together like butter and rye. I don't know where that came from. I tried to think of what I could combine with butter, but I was like, rye? Well, there you go. Yes, so Tory and lies go together like butter and rye. The absolute lying that the Tories continue to do at the expense of this country is astronomical. Not only that, you can guarantee that these Tories will be taking a lot of back payments into their pocket. And of course, what's happened this week? Well, Environmental Secretary votes against his own proposals to protect post-Brexit food standards. We have said this on this channel multiple times. Food standards. We have the highest level of food standards in the world thanks to being members of the European Union. These are good because you should want your food to be of the highest quality it can possibly be. Now, this doesn't mean that it comes at a cost of rise in cost to you, the consumer. That's the key thing here. Many people think, oh, you get rid of these standards, somehow it makes food prices lower. It does, but it also means that the farmers can cut corners. And this also opens us up to Donald Trump and his chlorinated chicken and all the other rest of the absolute rancid food that the world intends to come and dump upon us. So, yeah, enjoy, guys. We told you it was going to happen. You didn't believe us. Oh, Project Fear. Well, look what's happened now. So, this comes from the New European. So, when George Eustice was on the backbenchers back in 2019, he tabled an amendment to the UK's to the agricultural bill to try and protect the UK's animal welfare and food hygiene standards by banning sale of lower standard foods such as chlorinated washed chicken and hormone injected beef. But now, as the Environmental Secretary, he has failed to back the exact same amendment when it was tabled by the Labour Party in the House of Commons. The Tory MP was joined by the Farming Minister, Victoria Pretence, in voting against the proposals, with the government insisting its bill will retain EU legislation for existing protections on food safety, animal welfare and environmental standards. Nevertheless, Eustace's vote against looks like a U-turn and comes weeks after he was forced to defend Priti Patel's immigration on Question Time, despite previously claiming that the Home Office needs to get real. Labour have said that the Tories are now trying to tie themselves in knots to get a damaging trade deal with Donald Trump. This government is in chaos, said Luke Pollard, Labour's shadow environmental secretary. Labour used the exact same text put forward by the Secretary of State when he was a backbencher. That would now have protected our food standards. Now he and the Tories have voted it down. The Conservatives are trying to tie themselves in knots to get a damaging trade deal with Donald Trump at whatever cost. If this amendment was not good enough for the Environmental Secretary when he wrote it, why does he oppose it now? In an interview last month, Eustice refused to rule out chlorinated chicken and hormone-injected beef appearing on shelves in the UK after a Trump trade deal. And now we know why. It's enough no surprise this should be happening. And this will dramatically affect our own UK farming industry. Yeah. I sit here from time to time and I really do wonder what the hell people must be, especially Brexiteers, thinking at a time like this when you have so obviously a clear and present threat that they want to lower your food standards. Why are you so happy about having to accept what is essentially regulation, not from Brussels this time, but from Washington? Why are you so happy accepting regulation from them, but not Brussels. And here's the thing, in a trade deal, because trade deals are all about sovereignty and give and take, so this idea of, we've regained sovereignty, well, you're about to lose it in a trade deal. Because if that trade deal mandates, for example, that we have to take hormone-injected beef, doesn't matter, you can't pass a single law to try and stop it. Because you already signed it in a trade deal. And if that trade deal goes through, well, you can't stop it, essentially. Trade deals are even harder to get out once you've signed it. And the worrying thing is these Tory MPs who wanted oversight, and even Brexiteers who claimed they wanted more sovereignty and Parliament to be in control, voted against Parliament having say on trade deals. Now you have Liz Truss, of all people, who is a complete free market fundamentalist, running these trade deals. So we will not know what is in these trade deals until the ink is drying on the paper. And we could have given up everything, because we are the weaker country here in this situation. This trade deal with America that they're so desperate to get only improves our GDP, or give us in GDP, shall we say, about 0.16%. That's nothing compared to what we lose from leaving Europe and the European Union and the single market and customs union. They're desperate to try and give every shape, form of appearance that Brexit has been done and that it's okay, it's all fine. And it's not. We have until the end of this year. Now, I've said there are three potential scenarios at play here. Either A, Johnson knows that he can't get this deal done in a year, so he has to extend the transition period. That is scenario one, and he's playing hardball about it, so that when he has to do it, he can say, "Oh well, it's not our fault; it's the EU dragging their feet." So basically, he can put the blame on the EU when it's his fault. Two, Johnson and his cohorts in May will announce that the EU have done nothing, and that not sufficient progress has been made, and that we will walk away halfway through this year, which puts us into no deal territory. Now, I've said, and we've shown, this has even happened as an explicit vote in Parliament. Parliament would never, ever in a month of Sundays vote for a no-deal Brexit. The last time this happened in the series of indicative votes, it only got 62 votes. So it would never, ever get through. Not even the Conservatives, especially the new ones, are dumb enough to vote for massive economic damage that will cause. But they can do it if they do it sneakily and push it through. Now, the other one is that Johnson basically plays hardball, as he's been doing at the moment. Basically, he announces that we'll leave in no deal in, he'll just basically let the clock run out, and we'll no deal in January, end of December, being in January. So those are the three scenarios. It's either Johnson is playing, in all these situations, he's playing hardball, but to look tough, not to the Europeans, but to appeal to his own core base at home, that he's, quote, getting Brexit done. Even then, Brexit will not be done. So, oh dear. Then he'll extend the transition period. I think that's probably the least likely to happen. I think that it's very, very likely we will end up with no deal. And if that happens, that goes against everything Johnson stood for when he was leader of the Leave campaign, what he campaigned for, what he has been saying over all this time, that he wants to leave with a deal. Johnson then goes against the will of the people. Just saying, guys. um, and yeah, will cause absolute untold economic harm. The other reason is he leaves no deals. He basically the other two options: he no deals early, or he no deals at the end of just lets the transition period run out. Essentially, those are the two options. And bear in mind, this hurts us far, far, far more than the European Union. That's the fact. Um, you know, you can say it does all this damage to the European Union all you want, but the effects that it's going to have on us is going to be far, far worse. And the European Union has done recently, since Brexit, it's done quite a lot of trade deals with other countries around the world. So I think they're going to be fine compared to us.